I'm delighted to be joined by the director of 8.5 Hours, Brian Lally. Brian, you were in Galway recently for the film Fla, and you've had a busy year promoting 8.5 Hours, which is now on DVD release. We're going to be talking a bit about its release in a few minutes, but can you firstly tell us what 8.5 Hours is about and how did you actually come about making the movie?
Well, 8.5 Hours is, I suppose you could call it a provocative drama. It's about one kind of working day in the life of four Dublin people who work in a software company, and their lives kind of fall apart during the course of one Monday, and it's just a couple of months before the end of the boom and the IMF crash and all that stuff, and they don't know that all that's coming down the tracks. So the benefit of hindsight, having a look at their behaviour, it's become a bit of a cult hit, and there's a lot of black comedy in it as well. So I suppose you could call it a funny but tortured drama about the dying days of the Celtic Tiger, and it's out on DVD for the last few months, and it seems to be doing quite well.
Sure, has been doing quite well, and we're going to be giving away a few copies of it. You yourself worked in the IT industry before as well, so how much of it is fact and how much of it is fiction?
Well, yeah, I used to work in the IT industry. I tell you what is fact. What's fact is that in certain scenes of the film you see four characters working in the same office, and to the outside observer they look calm and they look placid, but then it's revealed through in flashbacks and some of the earlier scenes that their private lives are totally in turmoil, and though they're sitting at a desk, their minds are elsewhere. And a lot of the time I was in the IT industry, I might be sitting at a desk looking at computer code, but my mind was elsewhere and my private life would be in complete turmoil. So I think this notion that people going to work and leading lives that are totally separate from their actual private domestic lives, I thought that was quite interesting. And a lot of the characters, they don't let the other characters in on what's happening in their lives. I think there's only one story involved the character of Rachel, where her story is politically chaotic, but what she does is she blackmails her boss in order to get an outrageous mortgage for an apartment that we all know is going to soon crash in value. And that's a story that a lot of people like to talk about. But a lot of the other stories are kind of private and they're separate from work. But bringing the four characters together by virtue of the fact they all work together, it was a very interesting way to crisscross four narrative strands, because it's very much an ensemble film. Other films that would be similar will be the American film Magnolia, for instance. There was a big influence on it. And films like Time Code, and also office dramas like Glengarry Glen Ross and In the Company of Men. Those kind of caustic office dramas where you see people just behaving very, very badly at work. But I think what the characters do in the film, I wouldn't have, I guess in my own professional life, I wouldn't have seen people behave as badly as they do, but I would have seen a few unprofessional things over the years, but not quite to the extent of blackmailing bosses or some of the fights that break out in it, yeah.
How did you go from sitting in front of a computer, working in the IT industry, to sitting behind a film camera and actually making a feature?
I had been a frustrated writer for years. I had written a good few screenplays. One got made in the late 90s. It's a 40-minute film called Boys and Men, and that did very well for me, but I was still kind of alternating between periods like taking sabbaticals of writing to maybe going back and contracting the IT industry. But then I wrote several feature scripts that all kind of fell at the final hurdles. And then I think back during the height of the Celtic Tiger, 2006, I guess I was a bit disillusioned. I felt that the only way I was ever going to get a film made in Ireland is to go out and do it myself. So that's kind of exactly what I did. The film was shot throughout 2007. So I just worked on putting together a very good script and just bringing together a team of very talented actors. And I met Lee Moore and Maria Hilton. They came on board as producers with me. So we just had a team of people who were very motivated. We all wanted to do something serious in film. Perhaps we all felt maybe we hadn't been given a fair shot by the mainstream film industry. So I just kind of knew, I looked at what American independent filmmakers were doing. I knew you could make, using new digital video cameras, you could go out and shoot a film. Once it's shot well and you'd good quality sound, which we had, that people would accept that maybe looks a little bit different. It's not going to look as slick as your Hollywood film, but it's still going to look nice. And I think the performance in it were very good. So just brought together a team of very talented people. Everyone got paid something, but really not what they were worth, because I just thought the performance were excellent, were world class. So for just under €100,000, we put this together and we went on a wing to prayer, and it just kind of came together Now, our post-production took a long time. Like, we got into cinemas last year, 2010, so it did have quite a long period in post-production, but that gave us time to have test screenings, which helped kind of feed back into the film. So I was quite pleased with what we have out now on DVD. And the funny thing is, the film seems to have this life of its own. And it was released in the States there back in March, and it's doing quite well there. I think it's going to be on American television soon. So it seems to have it seems to be punching well above its weight.
It's amazing how you raise 100 grand privately and just got out there and shot it yourself with pretty much an unknown cast. And it's kind of funny as well, because you were speaking to me before and you're saying how one of the lead actresses in the movie was just walking down a street randomly in Dublin, and all these people just started chatting to her because they recognized her from the movie. This was something she never experienced before.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of the actors in it, because some of the scenes are so strong. Some of them are striking. Some may say some of the scenes are even outrageous, but people tend to remember the actors. But the lead actress, Lynette, that plays the character of Rachel, and that's the frustrated marketing executive who becomes obsessed with this apartment in Ballsbridge, and there's been articles in the Sunday Times about her character. People just really like her storyline. I think women like her storyline because she does fairly outrageous things that maybe we'd all like to do, like tell the boss exactly what we think of him and that. But the film seemed to strike a chord with immigrants, we found in Dublin. Maybe because that kind of very modern view of Dublin is something that they would have experienced since they've moved into Dublin, but maybe has not been reflected in our cinema. And I think it was some immigrant newspaper, I can't remember the name of it, but it gave the film a really good review. And Lynette Callum was walking on the road, I think a gang of Indian gentlemen kind of followed her. She's been a bit worried, but then they just really loved the film, and they stopped and asked her for her autograph. And I think though she's done a lot of theatre work, I think that was a novelty for her. There's also one of the storylines in it kind of touches on a gay storyline, and I think one of the other actors, Art Cairns, I think a gang of gay gentlemen approached them and really loved his performance. So it's I think it's become a bit of a cult hit, because I think maybe it addresses audiences that up to now have not really been addressed. And I say because the stories are so diverse, there's something in it for everyone. Like, there's a gay community that connects with one of the stories. There's immigrants that love this kind of view of Dublin that they haven't seen before. So it's a cult film for lots of different groups.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. It's a really good movie, but some people are going to get very frustrated by it as well, because it's not your typical commercial movie. And as you said, it is outrageous at times, and it'll definitely get people talking afterwards. But it was shown at the iCinema there late last year, and it went down a treat, and people can actually buy it now in HMV in Galway. In Galway, they can buy it in HMV. You can also buy it in Mojo's. And if you go to the Tower Records website, you can buy it online there. I think you can also find it in the larger Golden Discs and Tesco's. Okay, listen, Brian, many thanks for joining us this evening, and the best of luck with it, and the best of luck with your new project, which we can't talk about really at the moment because it's still in development, but it will be a big Irish feature, all going well. Listen, if you would like to win a copy of 8.5 Hours, we have 5 copies of the DVD to give away. All you got to do is text 8.5 followed by your name and address to 085 7700 000, and we'll pick a winner in about 20 minutes time. The best of luck.